We should be live now. Good morning, my friends. I hope you're all having an absolutely amazing Monday. And oh my gosh, did things happen over this weekend that I've just heard little bits and pieces of, but I want to dive into that today. And I think you guys will be really interested in that as well. But before we actually get into all of the big juicy news of the arrests that may be happening, the files that may be getting dug into for a hidden cause. We'll get into that. But before we actually get into all that, if you guys are new to the channel, well, welcome. My name is Stephen Bessie. I'm your local real estate expert here in Omaha, Nebraska with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And if you or someone you know is looking to buy or sell here in the Omaha or Lincoln metro area, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. All my contact information is right here on the screen. So down below in the description, top link will be a link to book a completely free one-on-one real estate consultation with myself. Now let's reel that back. Once again, down below in the description, completely free to book a link, or it's a link to book a completely free one-on-one real estate consultation with myself. We'll go over your specific needs and exactly what's going on with your budget and everything. We'll set that budget. We'll get your timeline and we'll come up with a game plan. But now let's get into what is actually going on, because this is kind of crazy. First, let's see what we got going on here in Omaha. Let's see, sex trafficking scheme, cartel-led theft ring as center increase FBI Omaha arrest. There's surprisingly a lot of stuff that goes through Omaha that I just would have no clue of. Let's see, Farnham Street lane restricted to last 6 months for streetcar. Let's pull this up to see the actual dates. So we'll pause that. Farnham Street between South 42nd Street and 40th Street will be restricted to one lane in each direction to accommodate construction to the streetcar project until time in June. So between South 42nd and 40th Street sometime in June. I don't think they have an actual date. According to the statement from Omaha Public Works, the construction on the south side of Farnham Street is being conducted by Kiewit Corporation as part of a broader streetcar preparation and utility work. Estimated completion time is 6 months. And I hope that it gets done in that time. Which, as long as they're not closing down everything, it will just be heavier traffic. We're lucky to have him, the globe-trotting Omaha doctor fighting to restore faith in public health. What do we got going on here? Yeah, let's listen to this. See what we got.
That those partners, I specifically work with the large international partners, donor partners, and implementing partners to make sure that those partners are supporting and well aligned with what is an excellent Ministry of Health-led response in country. So that's my current role, and that will be my role when I go back.
You just said a whole lot of nothing right there. I don't think this is anything huge or anything that big. Let's see what we got. We already covered the $800 million. Regents claim Nebraska medicine tied to Scuttle's support for Project Health to prevent the $800 million deal. This was supposed to go on June 9th, but it was pushed back. Let's just see. The chairman of Nebraska Board Regents has asked Nebraska Attorney General Mike Hilgers to investigate the conduct of some officers and board members of Nebraska Medicine, saying it threatens the future of the healthcare system. In a letter to Hilgers dated Thursday, Paul Kenny wrote to the regents believe that the Attorney General will find that Nebraska Medicine Boards has engaged in conduct clearly intended to damage Project Health as a way to deter regents from moving ahead with plans to become the sole member of the health system. As an example, he wrote, the regents have confirmed multiple conversations by Nebraska medicine officers and directors with members of Nebraska legislature. So they're still pushing back on it. See if there's a time where this is all. But the university on Thursday postponed the meeting to January 15th. So we'll see it in just a couple of days what's actually going to happen if it doesn't get pushed back yet again. But hey, who really knows? Because stuff like this can last a long time. As long as they got a reason to push it back, they'll push it back. Let's see what else we got. Nebraska transfer portal 10-day recap. 4 commits, multiple. Let's see. I'm gonna make sure that we don't got any of this. Nebraska secured the service of 4 players across levels of football and 3 phases of the game in a whirlwind portal Sunday. I don't see any way where we're going to make it up, where we're going to be ahead than we were last year, which we did not do good last year. So I don't see, because we got our main quarterback that was injured almost the full season, and then our best player left us. Defensive tackle Andy from Iowa Western, quarterback Danielle from Virginia. I thought we had a different quarterback. Someone that we signed to be a different quarterback than Danielle. Safety Jason. Yeah, I'm just curious to see how this will actually play off, because I can't imagine we're going to be doing better than we did last year. But hey, I'm there for the vibes, because if you guys are a fan of the Huskers, you know that the likelihood of us winning is slim to none, sadly, but the vibes are there. And as long as you're there for the vibes and the outcome you are hoping to win, but if you don't win, you're still there just to have fun, then, I mean, if you want to win and you're a Huskers fan, don't watch Huskers football. You got to watch the volleyball or the basketball. We're great in those two. But I'm a football fan. And that's just, it's sad. Sad days. One day though. One day we'll get good. And when that day comes, I may be dead, and if I'm not dead, I'm there for it. Let's see if we got anything else. Let's go to the e-edition. Death toll rises, Iran. Cracks down. Protests. Contract led. Exit pay. Let's just head over to this Jerome Powell situation, because this is huge what happened. I don't know if you guys are up to date on this stuff, but this happened, I believe, on Friday, and then Powell made a statement Sunday night, which, if you're making a statement Sunday night, that means something serious. We're not messing around here. Federal Reserve Chair Powell says DOJ has subpoenaed central bank, threatens criminal indictment. And before I give my 2 cents on it, let's just figure out what's going on. Let's figure out the facts. Because it doesn't really matter what I think. It matters what's actually happening. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said Sunday the Department of Justice has served the central bank with subpoenas and threatened it with criminal indictment over his testimony this summer about the Fed's building renovations. We're already here. We're already off on a heater. Said this Sunday when he made his statement on Sunday, like I said, if something's happening Sunday night, there's something going on. The Department of Justice has served central bank with subpoenas and threatened it with criminal indictment. That's wow. The move represents an unprecedented escalation in President Trump's battle with the Fed. An independent agency has repeatedly attacked for not cutting its key interest rates as sharply as he prefers. That's something that we'll come back to here soon, but keep that in your mind because that is a big player here. The renewed fight will likely rattle financial markets Monday and could over time escalate borrowing costs for mortgages and other loans. And yes, I haven't done any deep research on what's been going on in the market so far, but we're going to see more of those effects a little bit later today because all of this is breaking news from, well, let's close that. All this is breaking news from practically last night. The subpoena relayed to Powell's testimony before the Senate's Banking Committee in June. The Fed chair said, regarding the Fed's $2.5 billion renovation of 2 office buildings. What in the world? Fed's $2.5 billion renovation of 2 office buildings. Hold up, give me 1 second. We gotta take a second. $2.5 billion to renovate 2 office buildings. I'm no builder, especially not anywhere in the realm of commercial building. I'm in residential, and I'm not even a builder in residential, so I don't fully understand the cost, but $2.5 billion seems way more than necessary. A project that Trump has criticized excessively. Yeah, I'm all for criticizing that $2.5 billion. Powell says on Sunday cast off what has up to this point been a restrained approach to Trump's criticism and personal insults. If you're going at someone of what they're doing, there's no reason for ad hominem attacks, which he has mostly ignored. Instead, Powell issued a video statement, which we will watch here very shortly. So make sure to stay into that because that gives quite a few good insights to what's actually happening, in which he bluntly characterized the threat of criminal charges as simple pretext. Bluntly characterized threats of criminal charges as simple pretext to undermine the Fed's independence when it comes to setting interest rates. This is huge right here because we're breaking it down and it's getting more into the reason behind that. Maybe that it's not because of this $2.5 billion renovation, even though that's excessive. It's more that Trump doesn't like that they're not willing to lower the interest rates to his standards. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public rather than following the Gotcha, okay. Powell said, this is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and the economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. That's huge. Let's listen to that again. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rate based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. Guys, we can not have that. We need the third party, the non-corruption, because there's corruption everywhere. And the higher you go up, the more corruption there is. But I would rather keep the corruption to the Federal Reserve, than opening that corruption up to the different political parties. Because, well, Trump wants this to be in his favor right now. He wants to say, we had the best economy. We had the lowest interest rates. Lowering the interest rates right now to what he wanted, I believe we read it in an article. I wonder if we could find that article. I believe it was last Tuesday, where he wanted to drop it. He wanted to almost cut the rates in half. And if you do that, you're going to crash the whole market, and you're going to make everything more expensive, which is killing Trump's main goal. And Trump's main goal is to make housing cheaper. But all the ways that he said about making housing cheaper is going to in turn make housing more expensive. And I can see if I can find that here in a little bit. But there's no, like, the Fed should be its own department, nothing attached to what Trump has to say, what a different president has to say. None of those two things should not be correlated. And the less correlation that we have, the less corruption that there is. It's a sharp departure from the Fed's understated response to Trump this year. The central bank has attempted to placate the administration by dialing back some policies, such as efforts to consider the impact of climate change on the banking system that the administration clearly opposed. So the bank has attempted to placate the administration. So they have done a little things to kind of say, hey, we're working with you a little bit, but we don't want to work with you. The renewed attacks on the Fed's independence and Powell's full-throated defense reignite what had appeared to be a dormant battle between Trump and the chairman he appointed in 2017. The subpoenas will renew the fear that the Fed's independence from day-to-day policies will be compromised, which will undermine the global investors' confidence in the U.S. Treasury security. We've been having huge problems recently with the U.S. economy, and I don't know. I don't think it's just because I've been paying more attention, but so the U.S. dollar, starting off with the U.S. dollar, the reason why we're so powerful is because the world runs off the U.S. dollar, and after it was taken off the gold standard, we didn't really have anything for it, which is why we made the oil trade deal. So whenever oil trades hands, it's traded with the US dollar. And that's why Trump took Venezuela, which that's here nor there with good versus bad. And when they say that we're helping out the people, we're helping out the Venezuelans, we want the best for them, our true intention, we don't want anything bad happening to them. We wanted to free them. No, they wanted the money. They didn't care. Trump does not care about the Venezuelans. He cares about keeping America and Israel on top. I'm all for keeping America on top. How we do it, we got to go about it certain ways so that we're not starting wars and we're not giving the U.S. an even worse name that we already have, which is absolutely stupid because people clown us in other countries. But right here is absolutely crazy because Trump wants his deal where he's making housing more affordable, but the way that he's going in about it is not a way that a president should go about it, by indicting Powell and putting charges against him. And the only way he can fire Powell to get what he wants is to indict him and arrest him. Because once he has arrested Powell, then he has grounds to fire him and remove him from from the Federal Reserve. And then once Powell is gone, then he is able to do the exact same thing with the other big players in the Fed that he doesn't like in order to control the interest rates, which, I'm sorry, but I have 10 times more faith in the Federal Reserve, the higher ups in the Federal Reserve, to do their job better than a president can do their job. I have full faith that they are better at their job. The people who are put in place to do one thing, if you're doing one thing, you're going to be doing it far superior than someone that does a multitude of things. I have full faith that they know what they're doing more than any president that comes into office will ever know. I don't care if you say Trump's a businessman, this, that, or the third. But the fact that he's throwing charges on Powell to be able to get him out of office is absolutely insane. Let me see. I don't think I got any of those on my phone. I'm trying to switch this cam. There we go. So the only way for Powell to get out of the Federal Reserve, the only way for him to remove Powell from the Federal Reserve is to indict him, is to arrest him. Once he was arrested, then Trump has grounds to kick him out, to practically fire him, and he's accused of something. He can just throw charges on him, accuse him of something, and then that will play out in courts over the course of who knows how long. It could be a couple of months, most likely much longer than a couple of months, most likely around 2 years that it will take. But in the meantime, Trump has kicked him out and he has gotten what he wanted, which is very scary to think, because you're able to spin it any which way, and his only reason of doing this is to take control of the Federal Reserve, and all he needs to do is just throw some charges on him. He doesn't even need to convict him of anything, which they're going to try to do if they throw charges on him, which is destroying Powell's life. Just to think about someone else's life, I know you want to think about the big picture of what's going to happen to America, but you also have to think about what you are doing to this man and his whole career. I don't know Powell's backstory. I don't know any of this, whether he's a good guy, whether he's a bad guy. I just don't think that it's right to throw charges onto someone, to ruin someone's entire reputation, their entire career, because you don't like something that they're doing. Because you think you can do their job better than they can. I don't think that's right. I'd like to know what you guys think down below in the comments, if maybe lowering the interest rates to a low 3 or 3.5% would be good. And speaking of interest rates, what are we looking at right now for interest rates? Let's pull this up so you guys can see what I'm doing. So we're sitting at a 6.16%. We've moved up 0.01% over the course of not too long. I checked it on Thursday, it was 6.15%. Friday, it went up to that 6.16%. And you can get a 15-year fixed rate mortgage, which is going to be lower, but most of the time you're not going to get that. And just out of curiosity for myself, I've not done a lot of research into I think it was 50-year mortgage that Trump was proposing. Let me look it up. I have not looked into the 50-year mortgage that Trump was proposing. So if that's something that interests you guys as well, about, hey, is that actually going to be good for us? Is that going to help us out to have a 50-year fixed rate mortgage? Which, just off the top of my head, I don't think so, because the interest rate is absolutely insane. Even at a 3% interest rate, you're paying so much money in interest over 50 years. It's just sickening. And but it will help you get into a home sooner, and the real money is made in that appreciation. So it might be a good thing. I don't know the facts about it. I've not I've not looked into it whatsoever, but that's something that does interest me, and I would love to make a video on that. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I will. Let me write that down, because that is very, very interesting for me, and I assume for you guys as well, especially if you're a first-time buyer, that could be very beneficial for you, because while you can get down payment assistance and everything, you're still stuck paying this huge monthly mortgage. Because if you go down renting versus buying, when you buy, you're paying a minimum of $700 more a month than you were to rent. So that might be a great option. Let me write this down as a video idea. We can make probably a couple reels about that, and then a long form video on the 50-year mortgage. But let's see what we got. Let's watch this video of what's going on with the indictment and everything. Do they have it on here? They should.
No one.
Don't know if this is a full video. I saw one that was, how long was it? I believe it was 1 minute and 14 seconds, so we'll see if this is the full video.
Certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is a No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation.
Okay. Let's keep it going. We already covered the shooting. Or actually, I don't think we did cover the shooting. But I'm pretty sure everyone that's watching this is aware of what happened in, I believe it was Minneapolis, was it? With the ICE agent shooting. It's, in my opinion, it's a clean-cut case if you look at all angles of the footage, because there's multiple different angles that have come out of that shooting, and it paints a full picture. But let's go back. So Powell was saying that it's not, I don't know how to get back to that video, but he's saying it's not because of this $2.5 billion renovation of the 2 office buildings that Trump has criticized. And yes, like I said before, I think that's an outrageous amount of money to be spending on 2 buildings. But then again, I'm not a builder, so I don't know how much it actually costs, and especially where they are, I don't know. But I think, let me know down in the comments if you think it would be a good idea to lower interest rates to 3.5% or not. I'm interested to see what you guys think, because you guys have already heard my opinion on that. But let's see if we got anything else going on. deaths in Iran. We had something going on with Iran that I haven't been keeping up to date with. Let's see. Live updates on the DOJ subpoenas central bank and threatens criminal indictment. Fed Chair Powell says. Which we already watched that. Fed Chair Powell said Sunday the Department of Justice, Federal Bank. We already read all of that. Okay, stocks fall on Wall Street after Powell says Trump is trying to undermine the Fed's independence. This is what we want to see. Not that we want to see, but this is the data that I was talking about, that I was curious of how this is actually going to affect everything. Stocks are falling on Wall Street after the Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said the Department of Justice has served the central bank with subpoenas and threatened it with criminal indictment over his testimony about the Fed's building renovations. And we figured out it's not about the Fed building renovations, the $2.5 billion. It's about something underlying thing. And I'll tell you guys this, which you should probably already know by now if you don't know. Whatever the headline is, typically that's a cover up for practically anything. Whatever the headline is, whatever the narrative, whether it's a right-leaning source or a left-leaning source, it does not matter. If whatever the narrative that these articles are painting, that's 9 times out of 10 not the actual true story, not what's actually going on. The S&P 500 fell 0.3% in early trading Monday, which we're not going to see the full effects until later in the day and heck throughout the whole week to see what's actually going to happen and what's going on, because I would be wary about having my money here in the US if the Federal Reserve is taken over by whoever's in office. And Trump also has to realize that while he wants to look the best, say that he had the best interest rates while he was president, we had the best economy, better than anyone has ever seen. We call it the American economy. Yeah. In order for him to do that, he's also opening doors for any other president to do that, because he's only got a few more years left. And even if he does think that his successor, assuming that's J.D. Vance, is going to win next presidency election, that's only going to last so long. And the second that a door opens for corruption, that it opens like a floodgate. It's like putting a crack in a dam. The second that crack is there, more and more pressure until the floodgates just completely open for total and entire corruption. But the Dow Jones Industrial Average has lost 384 points, or 0.8%. And the NASDAQ Composite fell 0.2% here, which I'm interested to see in the long run how it's actually going to affect everything. Let's see. Canada tries to reduce its dependence on the U.S. Its leader will visit China to rebuild ties. That's interesting. I don't know. After Venezuela's incident, everyone is rethinking their ties here with the U.S. because even if we're in cahoots together, if you do anything we don't like, we're coming at you. The only reason that the US dollar is the global trade is because if you don't use it as the global trade, we'll kill you. That's end of the line. If you don't, the reason why America's dollar has so much backing to it, we got taken off the gold standard. It's now on oil. If we lose oil, we're completely screwed. And that's something to keep in mind for why Venezuela was taken over. And because Venezuela, about 4 hours before Maduro was captured, he met with China and Russia, and they were talking about having a trade deal and not using the US currency. And so what we did is we said, screw you. We came in guns blazing, and we taught the whole world that even if you're in cahoots with us, if you do something behind our back or you do something that we told you not to do, there's going to be huge consequences. And we're the bully. The US is the bully. And that is how US was built, is being the bully, having the power, because the world is not pretty. And that's what you need in order to have the power. But it's interesting that Canada tries to reduce its dependence on the US, and they visit China to rebuild ties. That's not good. A leader of Canada's government is visiting China this week for the first time in nearly a decade. Leader of Canada's government is visiting China for nearly a decade. A bid to rebuild his country's fractured relations with the world's second largest economy and reduce Canada's departure from the United States, its neighbor, and until recently one of its most supportive and unswerving allies, which we have Canada as our ally partially due to us being neighbors, but also Canada being so unbelievably weak. And there's no way that they get closer to China than they are with us right now. And if if they do get closer with China, and China decides to put some of their weaponry in Canada, there's going to be big problems for Canada. U.S. is not going to take that lightly. But let's see what's going on in the real estate world. Fed chair says Trump's unprecedented procedure threatens rates. We already talked about that. Top 10 countries for Americans to retire overseas in 2026. Let's see. I'm a 50-year-old divorcee with 3 kids and in search for good schools led me to buy a $572,000 home in Marlton, New Jersey. Let's see what else we got going on. New home construction slows post-pandemic low. Residential, let's see what this is about. Residential construction activity slowed dramatically in the fall, reaching a 5-year low in October amid the federal government shutdown and delay reveals. Total housing starts were at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.246 million in October, down 4.6 from December and 7.8 less than last year earlier. That's interesting. Which makes sense because when the government shut down, it harms everything. The U.S. Census Bureau reported on Friday the October figure, delayed by several months due to the shutdown, was the lowest level for housing since May of 2020 during the heart of COVID. Okay, so they're saying, not saying that we're at the lowest since COVID. What they're saying is that during the lockdown, it was the lowest since COVID, and now we're going up. Let's see, total housing starts to fall post-pandemic level. What? Yeah. Which will go back up, and Trump saying that he wants to make housing more affordable. The way to make housing more affordable, I said this hundreds of times, the way to make housing more affordable is to make more of it. The more of it, the less demand we'll have. The less demand we'll have, the less people are going to be willing to pay for these homes. So you have to have more homes. You have to incentivize these builders somehow. Whatever way you're going to do it, you have to incentivize them. Or incentivize the buyers to buy new construction or build new construction rather than going with existing. If you can make it so the price per square foot of new construction is the same as existing or just a little bit more expensive than existing, you're going to make new construction more appealing, getting more people in. But even if new construction is more appealing, we need more homes. And we're just going to be stuck at the same problem. Let's see. Can we find... I remember when Compass, when there was rumors that Compass was taking over Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate, which is the company that I work for or work under, and that never happened, and that was going to never happen. But it was like, ooh, this is going on. We don't really care real estate news. We don't care about celebrity stuff. More trends. Let's see what we got going on here. Why homes in Florida enclave are flying off the market. Doesn't really apply to us here in Omaha. Unemployment rate falls to 4.4% with just 5,000 jobs added. That's always good to see. Unemployment rate lowering. Top 5 metros. I don't know if you really want to move to a metro where home prices are falling the fastest. That's probably something that you want to avoid. You want to get into a metro area like Omaha where prices are low right now, but you can see a lot of activity happening here, meaning that it's going to increase in value a lot more than any other city. Let's see, President Trump. Where's the article that we read previously? President Trump taking steps to ban investors from buying single-family homes. That's part of it, to ban them. I don't know if you can force them to sell what they already have. Someone brought it up in chat that would be unconstitutional to make them sell what they already have. But the government already has ways to take your home from you if they want. So, never really know. Zombie mortgage under the microscope. We already read that one. Looks like we got all that. Let's see if there's any going on with KTV. Otherwise, we can just jump into new homes that have popped up on the market, see what we got going on in that aspect. Alright, we were Omaha. Just telling us our weather. Looks like it's gonna be fairly nice. Had to scrape the windows off the car this morning. Had to scrape the ice off the windows this morning. Here's how to never pay full price on Amazon. Don't really care about that. We want local news. Let's go. Legislator holds public hearing on bill to expel Nebraska Senator Dan McKinnon. A reserve chair, just another Powell. Roberty. Nebraska outlasts Houston in second straight 5-set match. Let's see, do we got a
home opener for Love Nebraska against Houston? Jordan Larson playing in her first match since a...
See if we got any highlights of that. Because that is something I'd be interested in.
announcing her retirement is coming at season's end. First point of the match is a big one. Emily Thader rises up and stuffs the kill attempt. Nebraska building off the fast start. And a bus digs up on serve receive. She's rewarded for the effort, tools the block. Bus leads Nebraska with 16 kills. But Houston is too much in set one. Amber Igiej splits the block and finds the floor. Nebraska wins the longest set in Love history immediately after this in the second, 37-35. They ride that momentum to a 5-set win. We'll be right back.
Always good news. Like I said, you're rooting for Nebraska, you're rooting for the Huskers, and you want to watch someone win. Don't watch football. Watch volleyball. I got a quick question, completely off topic here. As you can probably see, let me switch camera here. As you can probably see, I've upgraded my camera a little bit. I've changed the background. I want to get your guys' input. How do you like this? It may shake a little bit like that when I mess with my desk. But let me know how this compares to how it previously was on the last streams. And each stream, I'll be trying to get better and better. So let me know kind of how you like it. I think we're good with the audio aspect of it. But other than that, with the camera, let me know. Let me know if good, bad, should be at a different angle. That sort of stuff I'm interested in know. It looks like we got a hiccup here. Shouldn't actually stop anything. Sometimes I'm streaming off my desktop, and I don't know if it's the Ethernet cord that I have, or if it's the Ethernet port, but sometimes it gets a little wonky and just disconnects on me. Just out of love, it will disconnect. What makes Iowa session... Yeah. Look at this.
2026 will be...
That's a colorful tie right there. This will probably be quicker than actually reading that.
Like 2025 at the Iowa State House, in that this will now be the 9th straight year that Republicans have more seats in the Iowa House, Senate, and have a Republican...
Or this guy isn't actually speaking.
Senate and... a 9th member who is running.
Huh. Is there audio on this?
The political makeup of the Iowa 2026 legislature will look a lot like 2025.
It is mono audio and I had the wrong earbud in, so you guys were probably hearing all of that. Like, Steven, what's going on? We can hear it.
2026 will be like 2025 at the Iowa State House, in that this will now be the 9th straight year that Republicans have more seats in the Iowa House, the Iowa Senate, and have a Republican governor. However, there are 3 ways that 2026 will be different. Number 1, 2026 is an election year. So Iowa lawmakers can...
Is it just me, or is this guy opening his mouth way wider than he should be when he's speaking?
Receive their extra daily pay for 100 days and not 110 days like it is when it's not an election year. So that can be a financial incentive to finish up a little faster this year. And number 2, other plans. There are 6 legislators who are now running for the United States House of Representatives, 2 others who are running for the United States Senate.
Boring. We don't really care about Iowa. We're here in Nebraska. Top 6 on 6 most watched videos of December. Don't really care about that. Fire in abandoned South Omaha shed started by homeless people. Happens all the time. I'm pretty sure that's how the California fire started. By a homeless person just either trying to stay warm or wanted some entertainment or wanted to do some damage. One of those 3 happened. North Omaha mobile home destroyed in morning fire.
Breaking news, we are following closely. A home is in ruins after an early morning house.
The problem with more mobile homes, and I've had clients that want a mobile home over a new construction home. And you got to understand something. When you're buying a mobile home, you're buying the physical home. You're not buying the land that it's on. You're buying just the home. So it's harder to get a loan for that because it's not a solid asset. It's not an asset. It's debt that you're going to have. It's a liability rather than an asset. That's the word I was looking for, liability. It's a liability, not an asset like a home is. Because if anything happens to a home, like God forbid you have a fire, a house fire, that person has lost everything. He has no value in the land. Land isn't his or hers, and they have no way of recovering. Maybe they get insurance on it, some insurance money. But if you're buying a mobile home for cheaper rent or whatnot, because mobile homes are, especially here in Omaha, you can get them anywhere from 30 to, typically you're looking for a decent one, 70,000. And yes, mobile homes, they look better. Just to the eyes when you look at the photos. If we see any, I'll pull them up here. But they just look nicer than actual homes, because if you're comparing $150 or $100,000 mobile home to, let's say, $125 home here in Omaha, that mobile home's going to look super nice. That $125,000 home is going to look like a dud. It's going to need a lot of cosmetic work, and that's just how things go. But the amount of equity that you build with a home, you're building thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on the appreciation of a home, while you're losing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on the back end of buying a mobile home, because mobile homes never appreciate, or if they do, it's just because the whole housing market has gotten a lot more expensive, and it's mainly the land that they're on that's more valuable than the actual mobile home itself. And when you go to get a loan on these mobile homes, I know from experience, because I had a client that wanted a mobile home, still in cahoots with this client, trying to see the underlying root cause of wanting that mobile home. Typically, when people get into mobile homes, they think of it as cheaper, or it's their whole family has owned mobile homes and that's just what they know and that's what they like, or it's been passed down. Someone passed away and it was now passed down to you. And those are what the reasons why people own or buy these homes. But you have to think about it logically. If you're buying a mobile home as your forever home, then I still don't think it's the best idea, because you're always going to be paying rent. The rent that you're paying is going to be on the land, not on the physical item itself, this $70,000 chunk of metal that's sitting on the land that can be moved at any time if the what's it, the HOA or the, what am I thinking of, the community, whatever it's called, the trailer home community, if they decide that they want to build on it instead of letting you lease it, as long as they give you notice within a certain amount of time and it's in the contract, they can do that. And then you're going to have to find a new place to put your mobile home, costing money to move it, and then rent is going to go up because you're renting that land forever. You're never going to own it. You're never going to own it free and clear. And especially if you're someone looking to buy a house and your goal is to get into a cheap house and then later sell that house, let's say 4 years down the line, or even better, you're looking to get into a cheaper house and then pull equity out of it, or in a year or 2 years, this is the best play. If you're looking to upgrade and you're looking to build generational wealth through real estate, because I believe it's 92 to 98% of millionaires got their first million through real estate. Let that sink in. 98% of millionaires right now got their first million through real estate. There's a lot of people that are millionaires that don't know that they're millionaires because all their money is tied up in that home, which means once you sell it, you get all of that money, and that's never going to go down consistently. It may go down, dips here and there, but the best play, if you're looking to make a life for yourself and for your family, is to get into a cheaper home, a crappier home, something that you can live in and fix up at the same time. Something like, rewind that, something that's livable, not likable, but livable, that you can fix up to a likable standpoint. And then once you have that in, let's say, a year, 2 years, you then move out because you bought this home with an FHA loan. You move out and you do it again. You do that exact same thing once again, but you are now going to be renting out your first property that you have now made to a likable property rather than just a livable property. Being able to demand higher rents than what your mortgage actually is, because by that time, 2 years down the road, that home is going to be able to rent out for more than it would right now. So you rent that out, then you buy another house, and you do the same thing. You get into a nicer neighborhood, a same crappy house in a nicer neighborhood. Once again, livable, not likable. You buy a livable home, not a likable home. You live in that home and you fix it up to likable. Whether this takes 1 year, whether this takes 5 years, you fix it to a likable standpoint. Buy a home with good bones, and then you fix it up to a likable standpoint with LVP floorings, a nicer kitchen. Doesn't have to be fancy, but it has to be on par with the homes that are in the area. And you do that, your second home is in a nicer area and a little bit nicer of a home. Not too much nicer, but a little bit nicer of a home, but in a much nicer area. You fix that up after, let's say, 3 years. You do the same thing. You pull out, you rent that property, and then you get another property for cheap. And let me tell you this. After your third property, something magical is going to happen. You do the same thing. Now you're buying a nicer property. Still needs work, but you're buying a nicer property significantly nicer than the last two. In a significantly nicer neighborhood. A better, more desirable location. Once you have this home in this desirable location and you build it up and you build up the equity in this home and you do these things that give you that instant equity, building the value of the home. Okay, sorry about that. But you build up the equity in the home and you get it reappraised so the bank knows that you've done all this, and now you have more equity, you have more money in the home, fake dollars, you could say. And now your next property that you take out, you're not going to spend a dime on it. What you're going to do is you're going to pull a HELOC from your other properties. You're going to pull a line of credit from those properties, and you're not actually going to pull this on a credit. Sorry. Let me take a step back. You're going to place practically a lien on these properties and take that money from those properties and put it on this property now. So now you have less equity in these properties, but now you control a whole nother asset. You control thousands, hundreds of thousands more dollars for free. And then you keep doing that. And it's just a full rabbit hole. Which is why you can't start that with a mobile home. Because the rent for these mobile homes is going to be about $750 a month. You know how much money you're paying per month to have that mobile home on that land? $750 a month. Now you're starting to see where the actual problem comes in. And where if you want to build generational wealth, or maybe you don't want to build generational wealth, maybe that's not your ideal. Maybe you don't want to have to deal with owning all these properties, but you still, you still do want a nicer home. You want a nice place to live in. You want something that you're proud of to invite people over. You still need that avenue to be able to have the stepping stones. If you don't have the stepping stones, you can't get across that river where the grass is greener. There's a huge river, if not a lake, that you have to get over before you can get to where the grass is greener. And if there's not a path for you to get there, you're going to fall headfirst into the water. But let's pull up what we got. Let me pull up the current houses that have recently been listed on the market. And I don't know if excited is the word to use, but I'm very interested in how everything is going to play out with the Fed situation, because I believe it's not a good thing. We got 2 homes on the market right now, or 3 homes on the market right now that are new. Let me pull up this here real quick. So I'm going to pull up kind of the homes in the area. Let's go county. We're going to go Douglas and Sarpy County. And we are going to status. We're going to go new. Save. Price. We'll leave the price open. Okay. So we're going to be looking. Oh, we got a perfect example of a mobile home. Now we have 203 homes. We're not going to be looking nowhere near 203 homes, because I do have to prospect here at around 10 or 10:30. How long have we been live here for? I believe it's been about an hour. Shooting for around an hour and 40 minutes. So we've got about 40 minutes. We can look at a few properties here. But let's open this and I'll show this to you guys. So like I was mentioning, let's move. Is there a way to, there we are. Okay. And then I gotta move my cam over to the other side. Let me do this real quick. Okay. We're gonna move me over here. And we're also going to wait. Aha. Much better. Okay. So, like I was mentioning, mobile homes. Cheap. $50,000 for what it looks like to be a really nice property. $50,000. You get two bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and 924 square feet. And very, very, very low tax. But here's where the issue comes in. $747 you have to pay a month to the HOA, the person who owns that land, which is what I was talking about. And now you know I'm not exaggerating those numbers. It is expensive to rent these properties while you're paying a mortgage on top of that. And typically you're not even able to get a mortgage for these things. It's more like you're getting a car loan. Got a nice, but it looks nice. They do a great job with everything. Looks like new flooring. Got tons of space. Gorgeous kitchen here. So much room. Bathroom doesn't look too good, but bedroom's halfway decent. I mean, and then you got this whole lot area. And don't get me wrong, for $50,000, it looks nice, but that's where people fall into the trap. I would much rather you get a condo than a mobile home, just because you will have more money in the property once you're done. Because at least with a condo, you own something. You don't own the land that you're on, but you own the airspace that you're in. Which means, let's rewind that. Something that a lot of people don't know. When you buy a condo, you don't own the land that you're on. You own the airspace that you are in. Which means, let's say something happens and the building collapses. And now someone wants to build a new building. They have to buy that airway from you. They cannot build, let's say you're on the 15th floor. They cannot build on that 15th floor if they don't own that airspace, which you own. Okay, let's get back to it. See if we got any other townhomes. What price range? We're in 300. We're never gonna find anything. Put mobile home. So that's the only mobile home. We got condo. We looked at that condo. Let's see, $95,000. No HOA fee. This is a single family home. See where we're at. We're right in the Carter Lake area. It's not even a terrible area. Built in 1930. $95,000. You get one bed, one bath, 441 square feet. So look at how nice it is on the inside. You own a little bit of land, not a terrible amount. Okay, this home right here looks amazing. Problem is, if you want to build equity, you need to get into one of those homes that give you opportunities to build onto. And by build onto, I don't mean add another room, do this, add a whole another part of the house connecting to the house. I mean doing the cosmetic work that it looks like they already did. So all the value you would be getting from this home is just owning it. The appreciation. You have the drop ceiling, which fixing that up wouldn't add too much value. But if you're just looking to move in, it's a nice property. I actually have a client that might be interested in that, so I'm gonna save that. 134,500. We're getting into the bigger properties, but it looks like that it needs a lot of work. 4 bed, 1 bath, 600. We're at 1,320 square feet, built in 1900. This looks like it needs way more work than a first-time home buyer. It looks more like an investor if they can make the numbers work. And it looks like it could be a multi-unit property. So what it looks like right now is that someone already bought this property from a terrible standpoint. They started to fix it up. Then they realized they're in over their heads and that this project was going to cost them way more than it's actually worth. That's a huge red flag immediately. It could be that they're typically you want to see that it's almost done and then they stopped, because that means they went over their budget, not necessarily that it's over budget entirely and it's not worth it. They just went over their budget. But when you see stuff like this where they just started doing the work. They probably gutted it, or they gutted most of it, and they started doing the drywall and painting stuff. This is at the very infant stages of fixing it up, and they've discovered there's a huge problem with it. That's what I at least think. I haven't gone into the actual details of it. Could be a multitude of things, but that's immediately what comes to mind. Another property right here, listed for $134,900 in Creighton Heights, which, if you're buying a home, if you're an investor or you're a first-time buyer that wants multiple doors, but you can't afford multiple doors, especially here in Omaha, and you're okay having roommates, try and find a property, even if you want a cheap one, that needs some work, that's livable, not likable, that needs some work that you're able to do fairly quickly. But once you have, let's say, a 4 or 5 bedroom, let's say 4 bedroom or 3 bedroom, but you're able to convert one of the, it has a flex room that you're able to convert into a bedroom to make it 4 bedrooms. You then in turn, as long as it's close to a college, you then in turn fix up the property to a likable standpoint. You furnish the entire place. Get this, you furnish the entire place. And then you rent out each room. Let's get this. You rent out each room instead of the entire place and it being furnished. This is a huge thing, making sure that it is already furnished, because these college kids, they don't have the money and the resources to go out and furnish a living room, furnish each and every bedroom. You can give them the bare minimums. You also have to know, don't buy anything luxurious. These kids are going to destroy it. You have to know going into it, the items that you buy are going to be destroyed after the end of them living there. But typically, it won't be as bad if you're one of the roommates, because you're going to be part of keeping them in line. You also don't want them to know you are the owner of that building. If they know you're the owner of that building, they're going to heckle you and they're going to give you a hard time, and they're going to tell you all these different stories about why they can't pay or why they should have a lower payment. Use an agency for the to get the renters and to pay the bills. It will help you out so much if they don't know that you're the one who owns the place, especially if you're living there with them. This goes for duplexes or triplexes that you are currently living in, and you are forced to be in talks with these people. You don't want them to know that. But let's see what you got. So for that $134,900, you get 3 bed, 1 bath, 978 square feet. Looks like it, for the most part, it's already fixed up. Got a lot of extra space, it looks like. Got a lot of communal space, which you would want to try to lessen the communal space and add more bedrooms to it if you can. It's really hard to kind of get a full grasp of the layout of a place without actually being in it to see where you can add a room or whatnot. You'll want to add an extra bathroom if possible. But it looks like everything's updated, which if you're just a first-time home buyer and you want to get into the investing realm and you want to find a place, it might not be a bad place to start. But you'll want to squeeze as much out of a room as possible. And you can also throw bunk beds in. You throw bunk beds in, or you throw two beds in a room. You then have 2 people paying rent for 1 room. Again, 2 people paying rent for 1 room. You buy the house. This is a 3 bedroom. You buy the house. You take the smallest room. Get this. You take the smallest room. You give the biggest room. Put 2 to 4 beds in that room. Each bed is a rent payment. The rent is going to be lowered. These kids are going to be living in a nicer home than the dorms for less money, and you are going to be pocketing so much more money. See what we got here. $139,000. You get 3 bed, 2 bath, 1,854 square feet out in Pinecrest, and this was built in 1940. Looks like a big home. Needs a lot of updating. Kitchen needs to be completely gutted. Bathrooms need to be completely gutted. This home right now is an investor home. I would not recommend this home for a first-time buyer, because as a first-time buyer, I've said this multiple times this stream, you want a home that's livable, not likable. This home is not livable or likable yet. It would take a lot to get it to just livable. Here we are. We got almost $150,000, 3 bed, 1 bath, and it has 896 square feet, built in 1984 out in Kenwood. Just get a bigger picture. Kenwood's by Fontenelle Park out in North Omaha area. Everything's updated. This is AI photo staging. Looks like they just made the whole basement a bedroom, so you don't have any basement living area, which sucks, but we actually looked at that home already. Okay, now that we have that, let's look at a couple more cheaper homes for investor special, or more like a first-time buyer special. Investor special, if you more are looking for the homes that are in the $300,000 price range or high $200,000 price range. Let's see, have we looked at this puppy? We'll just take a quick look at this. $150,000, 2 bed, 2 bath, 800 square feet, and looks like South Omaha. Yep, South Omaha, right by the river. And it was built in 1905. I wonder if this is in a floodplain area. I doubt it, but it might be. Something to check out. But interior, there's stuff to upgrade in this interior for sure. Like right now, things that stick out to me that is going to be dragging it down is the carpet. Carpet's most likely going to need to be replaced. The trim dates the whole place significantly. If you don't want to add new trim, which you don't have to, paint it white and make it look much better. There's a problem with the ceilings. I don't know what's causing that, whether it's water damage or whatnot. I'd figure that out. Like this right here, you see how this is painted white? There's probably some damage that happened to this guy. So they tried painting over it and painting it white. But that looks so much better than this does. Because you can see all that damage. Just paint it white. If in doubt, paint it white. And it looks like your powder room right here. Flooring's completely different. It's probably that peel and stick sort of flooring. Let's see. Shower, it looks like there might be mold down by the floor. And most of the time when they do have that closed curtain, that's because the shower is in bad condition, or it's just in general not pretty. And you can see up here, it looks like there's something going on with those dark spots. So like this house, this is livable, not likable. And honestly, it's teetering the line of likable. Looks like these are Formica countertops, and they just have peel and stick on it with a good backsplash. Not much that you need to do for the kitchen. Decent cabinets. I don't like that it's drop ceiling everywhere. Like in the kitchen, that drop ceiling makes it look absolutely horrendous. So for me, I'd fix that up at least before selling. At least paint all the trim. And I would redo the ceilings because that just doesn't look good. And it looks like the archway is kind of warped right there. The house itself needs to be repainted. Basement, I don't imagine there's much you can do with that basement, but it's livable and teetering the line of likable and give you a lot of money. Oh, we went way too far. We got a condo. Okay, keep in mind, if you're looking at condos, they are cheaper. They are less maintenance, just like a mobile home. However, you do own the land that your condo's on, or if it's in a big condo building, you own the airway of that land or of that building. So at least you own part of it. And most of the time, there's always going to be that hefty HOA fee. As you can see here, it's $300 a month. But for $155,000, you're getting 2 beds, 2 bath, 1,548 square feet. That's a lot of square feet. See how it looks on the inside. Doesn't look bad. It looks like you got the vinyl flooring. Don't imagine that's the plank flooring. And there's still stuff that you can do to make this place look nicer. It actually looks like it has fresh paint, which is nice. Don't like the backsplash, which a lot of people won't like that backsplash either. And it also kind of looks wonky here. The problem is right now with your kitchen, it's so narrow that there's only space for one person at a time. Don't think there's much that you can do unless you can blow this wall down. If you can blow this wall down and make it so much nicer, then you just get a stove and you can have the countertop go throughout. Great size rooms. But once again, with a condo, it's not going to appreciate as well, and you're not going to be able to use it as investment property, at least to the extent that you can with a single family home. But you do get that. You do get more space. It is nicer for less money. Single family home here, $155,000. You get 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, total of 1,522 square feet. We're getting into some serious square feet where this can accommodate a lot. It's built in 1915. The only problem with that is you got to worry about the structural condition. It's out in Maplewood, here in North Omaha. See what you got. Outside looks pretty. Looks like you get some power lines going above here that we can't see. Need some updating. We actually saw this home, I believe. So a lot of times, it's more, or there'll be certain times where it's going to be more beneficial because this floor needs to be completely sanded down and refinished. So sometimes it's cheaper to just buy LVP and floor the whole thing with LVP. It's also much better on your pocket for if you're going to rent it out. You won't have to redo the flooring every single time the renter switches. And with hardwood floor, it scratches, and it really does scratch. And all this woodwork here, I would probably just knock that out, look better, paint all that white, get new windows, maybe just switch up the whole window thing, paint this white, this whole thing white. This looks ugly a lot of times. I'm a fan of keeping the brick fireplaces brick and not touching them, because that's my personal preference. However, paint this one white. Slap some white paint, fix up the brick, slap some white paint. It'll look 10 times better. It will hide the spots that are more damaged. Get a new door here, paint that. Paint all the trim white. There's a lot of stuff to do on this home, but this home right in this condition is livable. I would just tear up the carpet in every single room, throw LVP. Same LVP throughout the whole entire floor, and throughout the whole entire house. Doesn't need to be anything special. It can be real cheap stuff. Paint the trim. Probably get new windows, but paint that trim again. And get new lights, because these boob lights do not look good. And it's so cheap to get just the flat ones that are LED. So cheap. You can buy them on Amazon for like 30 to 40 bucks a pop. And it's not hard to install. You can even install it yourself if you want. I would paint that white as well. But you got a lot of yard. And for the price, you get a lot of square feet. And this is a definite livable house. But something that you want to keep in mind is you want to look at the area, what the houses are selling for in that area. Because I can tell you all this stuff that you can do to make the house look nicer, whatnot. But what matters is, what are the houses selling for in that area? What are the condition of these houses? You do not, let me say this, you do not want your house to be the nicest, have the nicest interior out of the whole neighborhood. You want to follow just a little bit above average. That way, you're not the demand for the price is not going to be as high as others, making that home easier to sell in that neighborhood, but also you're getting much more equity, and you want to figure out how much you have to do to get that equity, or how much you have to do to meet the standard of that neighborhood, or just a little bit more than the standard of that neighborhood, and then figure out how much that's going to cost and how much that's going to net you in the long run. It should net you anywhere from 2 to 5 times the price that you put in. See what else we got going on here. $157,000. We're getting 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom out in Kentwood. And you get a total of 1,200 square feet. This was built in 1950. Once again, we're out in that Fontenelle Park area in North Omaha. A nice ranch home, a 1-car garage. See the inside. It looks like the flooring is really nice. New paint. This looks more like they already came in granite countertops. No, that's Formica. It's Formica countertops. Trying to trick me. Formica countertops with the granite sticker on top of it. It's all updated. Looks like a home that you're not going to have too much equity, instant equity that you can build in it. You can do some things to make this nicer, mainly with paint, because this looks like a prison bathroom right now. I don't like that gray with the white tiling on the walls and on the floor. I'd either change the tiling on the floor or paint the wall. Make it look much nicer. They already painted the ceiling here. You know, doing really with older homes like this, doing much more than putting crappy peel and stick or vinyl down on the flooring. Like, this is the vinyl stuff. Doing much more than that, you're not going to get a good return on your money. Let's see. This will be the last one that we look at in this price range. Then we'll move up to the $300,000 price range. $159,000, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 790 square feet, out in Hartman's addition, and were built in 1885. So you're paying more money for the area. Outside of this house is really nice. Not a huge fan of this pathway or driveway, whatever this is. Not too pretty. Looks like you don't have an actual garage and you're just going to be parking right over here. Everything's redone. Everything's nice. Move in, ready, likable. Nothing crazy to say about it. Looks like we're right here. So you have no backyard. You just have a long front yard. So it looks like your property line's cut off right here. And then you just have this long strip. You have no side yard either. And it looks, I imagine this is your parking because this is their property. That's where they park. So you're going to have to park somewhere else. And I imagine they have easement so they can drive on your property to get to theirs. And like I said, you're paying for the location. Downtown Omaha, you're right here. Downtown Omaha, and you're right here. Let's now go to I'm going to have to full cam this real quick because I don't want to show anything that I'm not allowed to show. We're going to show a couple homes at the 300 price range, then we'll probably go to the 370, or then we'll go to the 400, and then 500, and then 750, and then we'll go to the million plus. Because there are a lot of homes, and I do have to leave here in the next probably 20-30 minutes. So let's take a look at this. $300,000. I didn't go about it. $300,000. Oh shoot. Whoops, daisy. $300,000. 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 1,488 square feet. If you got a little bit more cash and you're looking to buy your first home that you also want to make a little bit of money on, this is the perfect price range to be buying in. Never mind those cheaper homes. That's only if that's your price range. If you can afford the $300,000 homes in the nicer areas, crappy homes in the nice areas, that's what you want to look out for. You'll build the most equity. Not saying that this is a crappy home because it looks like this one was redone. Ugly flooring, but new flooring. Everything's done here. It looks like, I'm assuming, for mica countertops. Really good looking backsplash there. This doesn't even look like LVP though. It looks like laminate flooring. New light fixtures throughout the whole property. Updated ensuite. It's your bathroom down in the basement. Not the biggest fan of that property. Let's see what we got here. $300,000 yet again. 3 bed, 2 bath, 1,566 square feet out in Sunrise Edition for built in 1994. Exterior, we got a little bit of a crack in the driveway. Nothing that big of a deal. a little bit. I imagine the carpet isn't in the best condition. Doesn't carpet does not age well in the slightest bit. Everything else, it's staged nice. Looks really nice. Nice flooring in the dining room, kitchen. Not a fan of that sticker of the Formica countertops and how it's changed throughout. Older appliances. You got this old ugly lighting here that you could take out and replace with nice can lights throughout. It would make it look a lot better and add a little bit more value. Definitely add enough value for the amount of money that you put in. But other than that, you can paint these as well. Paint the trim. Not too much that you can do to make it better besides ripping out the ugly flooring. I assume the flooring was really bad and they said, okay, what's the cheapest that we can get to make it look good? You always want to be wary about the solar panels. Solar panels can be a big negative because a lot of times the person who owns the house right now does not own the solar panels and they have to pay rent for these solar panels, or they have a loan out on these solar panels that which the new buyer takes over. If they own it free and clear, great. If not, that's something to be wary of. Because we're just not at a time and stage where solar panels are actually useful. Being in sales is difficult enough when it's much easier when you believe in your product. And like for me, my product is homes, and there's nothing that you can believe in to build the wealth more than a home, and just through home values and how much of an asset it truly is. But if you're going around selling solar panels, you know that it's not going to save up money. You know that if at best they're going to break even, most likely they're going to be losing money. And so I feel like it's a hard thing to sell when, one, you don't believe in the product, and two, you know it's not wise for them to buy. But let's see what we got here. I got $310,000, 3 bed, 2 bath, 1,576 square feet out in Willow Park, built in 2006. Looks like this property is going to be fairly nice just from the exterior. It looks like they've done a little carport addition here, and a fence thing, whatever the heck that is. Looks like they've taken somewhat care of this property and done updates to it, so it'll probably be nice. Bad flooring, you got stains all over. Got good kitchen, dining room flooring. Imagine that's just LVP. I don't imagine that's hardwood. There's room for improvements here to get more money out of this home, which this is ugly paint colors, and you want these homes that don't have pretty paint colors. You want these homes where rooms are unique, because you're able to get a much better deal on these homes. And it only takes a couple $100 to paint a home, or to paint a room. It costs like $1,000 or so to paint a whole house, the interior of the house. So that's something that you want to do, because you can get thousands of dollars in return. Looks like a nice home. Very nice home, but there's still room to improve, which is something that you want. If you're willing to do the easy things, the really easy and simple things, like repaint the house. If you're willing to throw $1,000 into repainting the house, you can get thousands of dollars off. And like, this is ugly. It's paint chipped. All this stuff, as a realtor looking at it, you're like, discount, 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 discount. Paint, ugly paint, discount. Ugly chipped railing and trim and stuff, discount. terrible flooring, terrible carpet that you can visibly see stains right here. Discount. Outdated cabinets. Discount. Love the vaulted ceilings. Like I said, it goes the same thing with the paint and the floor. All discounts. 310, and then we'll move up in price range. 310,000. 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms in Stonecroft, and you get 1,741 square feet. I believe, yeah, in the Offutt area. Great military area. Absolutely love it. Looks like a nice home from the outside, even nicer from the inside. Looks like everything has been updated. Flooring isn't the nicest. It looks more laminate than LVP, but still nice. Good color paint. Gorgeous kitchen. Outdated cabinets, but you don't really notice that when they're painted over like that, which is why you want to paint over your cabinets. Formica countertops sucks, but it's not a deal breaker. It's nice. It's all around just nice. And the good thing about this house is that once you've built up enough equity and you're ready to upgrade homes, you don't have to sell this home, and you got a good renting client base. You got the military to rent to. And this is a great home for a military family that got stationed here at Offutt. Gorgeous property. Because you're right here, Offutt Air Force Base is right here. Couple-minute drive. As I said, we'll move up in price range. We'll actually skip that. We'll go to the $450 price range. So $450,000, we're getting into not luxury, but really, really nice homes. It's not technically luxury, but these are really nice homes for that $450,000 price range, which this is the average price range in a lot of other cities, if not lower than average. For this, you get 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2,550 square feet. Built in 2016 out in Richland Ridge. And this is in Gretna, giving you access to the Gretna School District. You're right next to the biggest YMCA. But it looks really nice. We're getting into territory where this may be your forever home. Is this a raised ranch? Looks like a ranch. Why did it show us those photos? Does not say. We'll figure it out. It looks like a ranch, but maybe a raised ranch. I don't see why it would, but whatever. Oh, no, I think this is the entryway right here. It's just bad photography. Guys, I don't know if this was professionally listed by a real estate agent or if this was... Oh, it was. Better Homes and Gardens. Or maybe they just stole those photos. Nope, this is Better Homes and Gardens. Guys, the bare minimum your realtor can do. Let me say this. The bare minimum your realtor can do. There's 3 things that should always be expected from your realtor. 3 things that no matter what realtor you go to, they should be doing this. There's really 2 things that no matter what realtor you go to, they're going to be doing it. The 2 things, MLS, Zillow. The 3rd thing that your realtor should always do, if they do not do this, fire them or do not hire them. They need to have a professional photographer come in and take the photos. If they are a professional photographer themselves, they have professional equipment, then yes, they can take their own photos. But if they do not have professional equipment, or if they are not a professional photographer, even if they have professional equipment and they're not a professional photographer, then do not hire them if they're planning on taking their own photos. I have my own professional equipment. Heck, I'm streaming on a very professional camera. However, my capabilities is not photography. Not yet, at least. I may go down that route later where I like photography, so I take it up as a hobby and I learn how to do that professionally and take those nice photos. But for now, even though I have thousands on thousands of dollars of equipment, I'm not taking my own photos. I am paying a professional photographer, not photographer. I'm paying a professional real estate photographer to take all my photos. And you never want to see a realtor that comes into your home to be like, oh, I'm a professional photographer. I can take these photos myself. Look at how good of a job I do. And then not only do they not hold the phone straight, tilt it like this, and then they tilt it again at another angle. What? At the bare minimum, if you're taking your photos, take them horizontally and keep your phone level. Your phone, when you're taking a video or photo, it has a leveler in it. Your phone knows when it's level and it will show you when it's level or not. Like, that's just the bare minimum. Do not hire a realtor that takes their own photos if they're not a professional photographer. And if they are a professional photographer, just ask to see the photos of their previous listings. Sorry, I had to go down that rant. Go down that rant every single time I see crappy photos like this. I mean, this just makes the property look bad. This makes less people come into it. But it looks like a gorgeous property. It needs new carpet, but beside it needing new carpet, less for their home, just because. Oh shoot! Wait, sorry, my fault. Let's go back. Go home. Gorgeous exterior photos. Looks like they got professional exterior photos. But then what are we doing here? And all of the lights are off? Excuse me? Excuse me? All the lights are off? When I go in to other realtors' properties just to shoot a 30-second reel for Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, me not being the listing agent, I go through the property. Not only do I turn on all the overhead lights, I go to each and every single lamp or the light above the stove. I make sure everything is on and the windows are in perfect spot so the light's not shining, blaring at the camera, causing the star burst effect. But it's also letting in so much light, making the property show the best as possible. If you're not making the property show at its peak condition, you're not doing your job as a realtor. Like, all the lights are off. Why are all the lights off here? They're clearly paying the utilities because these lights are on. All these lights should be on. All these lights need to be on. And heck, I would throw the fireplace on just because it makes it look that much more cozy. And the room that you do have the lights on, you have these crappy yellow light bulbs that just clash with the natural light. But these photos will make less people come into this home. Promise you for a fact, there's going to be less people in this home. And when it's a nice home, this looks like a really nice home. All it needs is new carpet, or I'd actually throw LVP throughout everything and just recarpet the bedrooms. Good kitchen. A plenty big enough spot for a dining room table. This doesn't really fit the whole vibe of that the kitchen's going for, which is more that dark luxury sort of vibe. And you get from the countertops and the cabinets and the floor. This doesn't really fit that. That fits more of a warmth, nice, friendly vibe. Which is not what that kitchen's giving off. Also, the backsplash is kind of ugly. Those are just things that are clashing. Okay, so we do have professional photos. Okay, I may need to apologize and take everything back that I just said. I think what happened, this happens sometimes, where the sellers will require you to use, where the sellers think their photos are really nice. And the sellers will require you. Oh shoot, I keep not switching. But the sellers will require you to use the photos that they have taken. They think it's really nice, which is where you have to come and put your foot down and say, hey, you're going to get less for your house if we use these photos. Especially if you're putting those photos ahead of the professional photos. So those are the first things that we see. If that happens, and you're like, I need these photos, and you tell your realtor, these are the best photos in the world. I need you to use these photos because these are so much better than your professional photos that you had taken. Yeah, no, they're not. But if I cannot convince you that the reason why you should use the professional photos over your own photos, if I cannot convince you, if you're going to just fire me and you're going to go with another realtor that's going to do you a disservice, if that's the case, I'll use these photos. But this looks nice. These photos look 10 times better. I didn't see a green wall right there, but look how nice these photos look compared to the others. It looks so much nicer. There's some sort of noise going on there. Don't know what's going on about that. We're going to have to... I gotta get off here shortly, so we're gonna go to more expensive properties. Sorry about that. We can skip the cheaper properties next time and just go to how much the average price point is, and we'll start there. So this property is listed at 1.1 million. You get 4 beds, 4 bath, 3,030 square feet. This was built in 2024 out in West Loveland, out in West Side. You're paying for the location mainly, and you get access to the West Side School District, but you're really paying for the location here. It does look new and nice. Oh, I love that lot. Oh my gosh, gorgeous lot. Look at how much space you get. You get 3-car garage back there, and then in the front you get a 1-car garage right here. That you can see the person who built it big enough to throw a trailer in there. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. Recently built. Or recently, probably gutted more than built. It was probably completely gutted. And then it was considered rebuilt in 2024. I don't know what's going on with this, why that wasn't finished. Other than that, it looks really nice. However, if you're spending $1.1 million on a house, you want it move-in ready and you want it to your standards. That's not to your standards. That's not to say that it won't be done by the time you buy it. Just gotta make sure. The location is really nice. The whole house is built for luxury. It's built really nice. Yeah, it looks like they're still working on it. Very huge. You could put a lift here, which is really nice if you're a shop owner. You put a lift here, or if you like to tinker with cars and you got a drain going throughout the whole floor. Super nice. Absolutely love that. Let's see what else we got. This isn't residential, I believe. What? That's residential? Are we in Blackstone? Where are we? Huh. Now I'm interested. We're off 113th Street, right by downtown. Okay. $1.2 million. You get 3 bed, 2 bath, 4,446 square feet. Out here in Omaha, and this was built in 1893. But you're right next to a bunch of residential properties. This is your unit right here. That puppy. I know, screw that. Let's go look at this virtual tour. Let's start. Show main doors. It looks like this is an office area. Yeah, so this is your workspace. So it's a mix of residential and commercial. We're actually just going to skip this guy. Let's see. 1.2 million. There's no way that's not that is single family residence. Huh. Wow. I'm shocked. 1.2 million. Give me 1 second. I want to confirm my question I have about this property, but I don't want to show anything that I'm not supposed to. Who's this built by? Okay, not what I thought, but that's okay. And now we're back. We back. Oh, I didn't move my camera, my fault. Here we are. This is 1.2 million once again. This is out in Vistancia. This is far north Elkhorn. This is where they're building at the north end of Elkhorn, and they're just building more and more and more. Where you get 5 beds, 4 bath, 4,120 square feet. And you got to keep in mind this is a new construction neighborhood, and there are pros and cons of going with new construction, which I can cover in another video if you're interested. But the lists of pros and cons go so deep that it's going to take way too long that I can't cover all that right now because I just don't have the time. But I love this. Absolutely love the new construction. You got the tray ceilings with your beams and then huge windows. And you're not going to have any backyard neighbors right there because it looks like there's a creek or whatnot going right there. You do have a slanted backyard, but you have no backyard neighbors. So you have complete privacy with those windows. Just look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, nice. I imagine that's LVP flooring. And then gorgeous island with your bar right there and your storage on the other side of that bar, which is what you want to see. You want to see that. But yeah, head to toe, just gorgeous. I mean, this is what you should expect when you're buying a $1.2 million new construction home. You should expect the builder to be thinking about what you're going to be thinking and what you're going to be feeling when you live in the place. But you can, if you're looking for new construction, you can get into new construction for about $400,000 if you're not going with D.R. Horton or Celebrity. If you are going with D.R. Horton or Celebrity, you can get in at the high twos. I believe the cheapest D.R. Horton that I've seen is $275. Not 100% sure about Celebrity, but the cheapest you can get into one of those for. But yeah, this is all around just absolutely gorgeous. Don't have much to say besides how beautiful it is. So yeah, you got a little, I imagine that's a creek. This is 1.2, and you can tell the difference just between these two. New construction, much smaller, 1.2, 4,120 square feet. This 1.275, 7,111 square feet. Out in Linden Estates. This is a very highly desirable neighborhood. Absolutely gorgeous home, and it looks like you back a creek as well, or you're gonna have no backyard neighbors. And all these homes are absolutely gorgeous. You're looking around $1 million as the entry fee to this neighborhood. But you can clearly tell why it's so much money. Because how stunning these homes are. Got kind of the older fashioned style to the home where you have the wood trims, the wood beams, the wood cabinets and everything, but not everyone wants that new construction sort of feel to it. I love the vaulted ceilings and the brick fireplace. And a lot of the things that I've said that you should change in the cheaper homes, you shouldn't necessarily change them in the luxury price range. There are things that you can upgrade in the luxury price range, but it's not all the same as the sub 300, sub 500,000 price range. Absolutely gorgeous office here. Gorgeous built-ins. Wow. Primary room is just stunning. Love your indented ceilings with your trim up there as well, and your huge windows going throughout. Tons of storage. I bet the bathroom's going to be amazing here. Got your his and hers sink, double sink vanity with a little spot to do your makeup. Actually not as nice as I was thinking. I do really like the stained glass though. And like this house does need some updating, but goodness, it is gorgeous, and I would take this home over a new construction home any day of the week. Let's see what else we got. We got one more. We're getting into the big boy. I'm going to once again full cam real quick, just so I can do my own quick research. Uh-oh. Okay. Once again, not who I thought it was, but whatever. So let's get back to it. We got this home is priced at $2.75 million, built in 2023. Not new, not a model. So you're going to get this home cheaper than what you could get it for if it was brand new, if you bought it in 2023. You get 7,071 square feet. This is over double our last home for just a little bit less square feet. However, this is practically a new construction home. It's not new, so you are getting that discount. Gorgeous pool. I love the windows and how high these ceilings are. Should have a better photo of it. And just look at that. Absolutely amazing. And you have your own indoor basketball court. Jeez, love that. I wonder how much of this land is yours. Imagine it's just... I wonder why it would just be that. So I'd be curious to see how much of the land is actually yours. Entryway leads you right up to your 2-story where you have your catwalk where you can look down. Really nice. Everything here is built high quality. It does feel a little bit more cramped than the other home. That's partially due to it having less square footage, and then also you have quite a bit of the square footage being taken up by your basketball court and your kind of game room. you're losing more of that living area. Which for a lot of people, this is a drawback. There are people where this would be amazing to have. But for the masses, this is a drawback. This is one of those things where it's luxurious to have, but a downside when you're selling. Just like an at-home movie theater. Gorgeous. You got your Jack and Jill style bathroom. Upstairs. Look at that. That is amazing. This is absolutely gorgeous right here. That accent wall. That's unique. I've never seen that. Huge closet. Love it. Personally, I would take the other home. If let's say this was the budget at 2.75 million, I would take this home. Take this home, put an extra $500,000 into it, and make it looking nicer than this guy. Or significantly cheaper. But let me know, very interested in kind of what you guys are interested in seeing, whether for the news portion, kind of what do you want to see? Do you want to more dive into the world matters, what's going on in the world, more of the U.S.? I don't want to get into anything political here, but it's always going to be political when you're talking about the president. So you can't really avoid that when you're talking about things that are actually happening that are affecting the real estate world. We're always going to be talking about real estate here because I am a realtor. But with that being said, you guys want to dive in deeper into more of the real estate articles, what's actually going on in the real estate market. I already marked it down in my little notebook here. Whether we can do a video or a stream deep diving into that 50-year mortgage to see, is that a benefit or a negative for you? And just interested in kind of what you guys are wanting to see with the homes as well. Do you want to see more of the cheaper homes? Do you want to see the investor specials? Do you want to see, as a first-time buyer, what can you get in the sub 300,000? Do you want to see what you can get in the 400 to 300,000, the prime first-time buyer price range? Or do you want to see on a budget, what can you get to fix up, or more just informational stuff, more of me kind of teaching you guys what to look for when you're buying an investment property, what to look for when you're buying your first property, the back end stuff that no one tells you when you're buying a property, because there's a lot from getting your mortgage to getting the inspections and everything that goes on behind the scenes that nobody tells you in videos like this. So let me know kind of what you guys want to see, and I will tailor these live streams towards it. And also, if you have any suggestions of what you want to see for actual videos where it's not a lot of fluff stuff that's going on, and it's a lot more of straight facts, a little bit more entertaining, higher edits, because this is just straight raw, let me know. And if you guys have liked this stream, please give it a like. And make sure to subscribe for more streams. I'm not going to promise a stream every day. Not going to promise a stream every other day. I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to be streaming. However, I would love to see your suggestions on streaming topics or video topics. Anything regarding real estate or finances. But you got to keep in mind, I'm a licensed real estate professional, not a professional in anything else. I do dabble in a bunch of finance stuff and tips and tricks to get it so you can get a better mortgage, so you can get more house while you're making less money for cheaper than you would get a cheaper house. All of those stuff I'm fairly knowledgeable in that aspect. So just let me know what you guys are interested in. As well, before I leave off, if you guys are new to the channel and you've stopped by the stream, I want to thank you so much. And if you are looking to buy, sell, or invest here in the Omaha or Lincoln metro area, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. All my contact information is on here on the screen. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Stephen Bessie. I'm a licensed real estate professional here in Omaha, Nebraska with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And if you want a free, let me say this, a free one-on-one real estate consultation with myself where we'll go over everything from where you should be living, the ideal space, the price that you should be buying at, your timeline, what you should be expecting to from start to finish of buying your property, how long it takes you to find that property, how long it takes you to narrow in your criteria, and then from there how long it takes, as well as get your budget, timeline, and a strategy in order so everything can happen, because it can be really stressful when you are buying or selling, and even more stressful when you're doing both. So if you are looking to take the load off of you so you don't have to deal with all that stress, and you want someone that's knowledgeable, that knows what they're doing, hit that link down below in the description. Even if you're not here in Omaha, book it over Zoom. And with all that being said, I appreciate each and every single one of you guys that stopped in this stream. And I'll see you guys on the next stream.